Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, and this is an episode you definitely don't want to miss. Today, we bring you another terrifying tale from our subscribers. This one comes from a Reddit user and goes back a few years. The original poster was visiting her boyfriend at his family home for the weekend, and they were going to watch a horror movie together that night. But before they settled in for the evening, she needed to use the bathroom. As she makes her way down the hallway, she hears a voice calling out to her. She stops dead in her tracks because the voice sounded exactly like her mum. She continues on to the bathroom, but then she starts hearing what sounds like her mum talking to someone else. And then her mum's voice says, "Don't go in there." So now she's really freaked out. She decides to wait it out in the bathroom, hiding between the shower curtain and the wall. She peeks out to try to see what's going on, but all she sees is the door slowly opening on its own. The OP cautiously opens the bathroom door a crack and takes a peek out.
Nothing. She closes the door and tries to shake off the fear so she can enjoy her night in. But just as she and her boyfriend settle in to watch their movie, the power goes out. When the power returns, she notices something strange on the TV. It's a channel she doesn't recognize, and it seems to be playing an old home movie. The grainy black and white footage shows a young girl walking down a hallway.
The girl suddenly stops and looks directly at the camera. Then the screen cuts to static. And then she begins to hear her mum's voice again, saying, "Why are you watching this?" Terrified, the OP hides under the blankets until her boyfriend goes to check it out. He changes the channel and the TV returns to normal, but when he goes to investigate the strange channel, he can't find it again. In the morning, the OP asks her boyfriend if he was able to figure out where the strange channel went. He tells her he couldn't find it, and that he tried changing the antenna connection, but it didn't do anything. The OP then asks if he wants to hear the craziest part. While he was sleeping last night, she heard the same voice say, "Get out!" Later that day, after thanking her boyfriend for a wonderful weekend, she heads home. As she's driving away, she glances back at the house. That's when she notices a dark figure standing in the upstairs window, waving at her. Now, obviously, this story has left us with a lot of questions, like who was that entity in the house? Why was it mimicking the OP's mom? And why did it tell her to get out? We may never know the answers to these questions, but what we do know is that this story is a prime example of a case where something malicious had been stalking the OP, following her right into her own home. First, we have the case of the mimic. Throughout the story, we hear the OP being stalked by a voice that sounds exactly like her mum. Even the entity's manner of speaking could fool the boyfriend, who wasn't even there when the OP heard the voice. To us, this points to the possibility that the entity had some sort of attachment to the OP's mother, or perhaps it was even her mother.
After all, how likely is it that the OP would not only hear her mother's voice, but also experience it coming from the exact same direction as her mother? Then we have the case of the ghost, the home movies, the flickering lights, and the shadowy figure seen in the window.
These things suggest a more literal ghostly presence. Taken together, the mimic and the ghost form a kind of composite monster that feels truly terrifying. It's as though the entity deliberately took on a familiar shape in order to trick the OP, knowing that she would feel safe in the presence of her mother. When the entity finally reveals itself, it does so in the most subtle way possible, appearing as a shadow, something intangible and dark. In many ways, this story follows a similar structure to other famous horror tales such as The Monkey's Paw or The Haunting of Hill House. There's an unseen force that grows increasingly malevolent as the story progresses, eventually revealing itself at the climax. But what's really interesting about this story is the way it leaves its ending open to interpretation. We don't know whether or not the OP was actually being stalked by a ghost. Perhaps the whole thing was a figment of her imagination, brought on by stress or exhaustion. If that's the case, then the story becomes a metaphor for the sometimes crippling nature of anxiety. On the other hand, if the story is taken literally, then it suggests that the paranormal world is far more dangerous than we think. Either way, the ambiguity is what makes the story so effective. So our question for you is this: would you ever dare open that door? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. I've been your host, and we'll see you next time for another terrifying tale from our subscribers.